equitable access to mental health care, two things come to mind to me. One is that keyword access. And I don't mean access just in terms of having more resources available in communities, but I mean having more resources available in communities that are accessible to Black and Brown communities. I think one of the challenges that we see is that when we look at statistics, we find that African Americans report 20% more psychological stressors than our white counterparts, but are less likely to initiate services, more likely to terminate services prematurely. And I believe part of the reason for that is we don't have services located in communities where we live. And if you have to take 3 buses to get to your initial appointment, you're less likely to make that appointment and more likely not to follow up with that appointment. But the second thing I think about is having services that take into account the nuances of race, culture, ethnicity, and sexual identity. It's about that intersectionality of not just being a person living with severe mental illness, but being a Black man living with depression, or being a Latino man struggling with alcoholism, or being a trans Asian person dealing not only with a mental illness, but also the stigma around that mental illness, some of the racial challenges around the Asian community, and the more recent increase in violence against the Asian community. So I think that if we are really talking about equity in mental health care, it needs to be having all people to have the ability to receive the right care at the right time, in the right amount, where they live, work, and play.
Equity in the Spanish-speaking community for mental health. It's a challenge, not only because the language barrier, sometimes that's the biggest one, but also is transportation, is taboo, is not being able to express how we're feeling. And so we see that reflected the mental health in the things that we do, how we treat our children, how we walk down the street, how we look for services that sometimes are not there. Not only because, as I mentioned, that English barrier for a lot of our community, but also because in our families it's not something we're going to discuss. So for our community to be served in the mental health field, we will need providers that not only understand culture, but also speak the language, and providers that are kind enough to say, you are welcome here. Many times I don't think we see that welcome sign for our community when it comes to mental health.
Equity in healthcare, equity in mental health care, equity, mental health care, and youth. 3 different subject matters, but all important. As a representative for the youth of today, being a youth and children's pastor, our youth really need our help. Access to mental health care for our youth is gravely important. Think about all the issues that you deal with as an adult, but then think about all those issues that you haven't gone to a therapist about. But then you think about all the issues that you're dealing with, that your child is dealing with you, that you haven't spoken to them about. All those things need to be dealt with. You, them seeing you talking about good mental health, being aware of your mental health, is transitional. They need to be able to understand that they should go talk to someone whenever they have an issue or whenever they have a problem. You allowing them to tell them that it's okay to talk with someone whenever they have a problem and to be able to speak those things out loud. So often in the African American community, we keep those things silent. These are our little secrets or our little family secrets. But it's those family secrets that have caused so much hurt and so much pain in our lives, and it continues generation after generation after generation. But we have to start talking about those little issues, because if not, they will continue to compound and create larger issues. But being able to know that there are places for you and your family to be able to go to talk these issues out is very important. And having access to those. You may not necessarily think that you can afford health care or mental health care, but there are places for you to be able to go where you can get those services discounted and sometimes even for free. Go. Get the help and the support that you need in order to be able to be mentally well. Many times when people see us on the outside, we're all dressed up, we're all suited and booted, but it's our brains that really need the help and the support. So go get the support that you need. Go find and get the access to the mental help that you need. because it's that mental health is going to be so much important, not only to you, but to the children and youth that are in your preview, because we all need to have really good, valuable mental health.
Well, to me, equity in mental health looks like looking at the people and meeting them where they are. We need to learn that MCOs and LMEs and insurance agencies, even the state, don't know our family members as we do. And we need to serve our members where they are in their communities. Reach into their culture. How do you help someone if you don't know that person and their families? Because you don't just service that person, you serve that whole family. And if you don't learn about that family and learn about where they are and what they like and how they see things, then you can't help that person. You're just spinning your wheels. Back in the day, Black people could only get their service for their people, for their members, within hospitals. And usually the hospitals were far, far away from where they lived. And that's why most Black people kept their family members at home and you didn't speak of it. And it goes on and on. So we have got to learn to think outside the box, and the agencies have got to start meeting people and looking at the person and not at a number, because people are not numbers. People are people. And in order to have equitable services, then you are going to have to stop trying to pigeonhole every service that is needed out here in the area or within the community. One day we'll look up and the service is there. It's a part of your plan and you can just reach out and get any type of help that you need. A person should be able to select who they sit down in front of, who they speak about their personal business with. They should make that selection for themselves, and if they can't, they should have someone advocating for them to help them to do that. I may want to sit down and speak with a white therapist if I have some issues, but let that be my choice.
Hello, I'm Dr. Sonia Richardson, professor in the School of Social Work at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. At our university, we are committed to ensuring equity in mental health services. So there are two questions that we ponder. One, how do we go about achieving equity in mental health services, and what does that look like? And number two, what actions or steps can we take to achieve equity in mental health services? We have some faculty and staff who are going to help to answer those questions for us.
Hi, my name is Rain Johnson. I am a pre-nursing junior. I have been associated with the CAPS department starting this year. I am an undergraduate research assistant, and I'm just helping out with the multicultural mental health organization. In order to achieve equity in mental health care, we have to ensure that providers maintain the same training across the board, as well as patients, whether insured or uninsured, have quality care, as well as having a stable price for those who need mental health care.
Hi, my name is Suzanne Jones. I am a Master of Social Work student and also a grad assistant. What it would look like to see equity in mental health care is seeing our regular physicians ask about mental health care more and not having to refer us out and wait for specialists and things like that. Just to be able to get everything done in one place, because mental health can manifest into physical health, and it's important we start recognizing that. I think something we can do to achieve equity in mental health is just continue to bring up the conversation and talking about it and making it less taboo, because mental health doesn't discriminate, so we shouldn't either.
Hi, I'm Lee Norwood, Associate Director of Access and Equity at Counseling and Psychological Services at UNC Charlotte.
I'm Dr. Terrence Harper. I'm the coordinator of the Multicultural Mental Health and Equity Initiative at Counseling and Psychological Services here at UNC Charlotte.
Equity in mental health care would essentially look like being able to pull away from the regimented, westernized philosophies of therapy that we often practice. And it would essentially mean being open and being flexible to multicultural, competent care.
Well, I think it'll take a lot of innovation. I think flexibility, being able to recognize the ways in which traditional services aren't really meeting the needs of the underserved, and being able, I think, to adapt to some of the changes that entails. Yeah, so when it comes to innovation, one of the things that we've been fortunate to be able to do here at the Counseling Center is to put forward a multicultural mental health and equity initiative that better serves the needs of our students of color here on campus.